So in the last class we were talking about calorimetry. Calorimetry. This is the branch of physics in which we measure uh, thermal properties. So this is the branch method of physics to measure thermal properties. Generally heat transfer, specific heat of solids. So these are thermal properties. So in order to measure that specific heat of a solid or material, we have one calorimeter. In the last class, I have given the brief of that calorimeter, in which we have one copper part. This is just the copper part, and material is filled in this copper part with the one thermometer. So this is the thermometer, and it is kept isolated from the environment. So glass wool. Glass wool is surrounded here. So this is glass wool, and it is now packed with wooden block. So this is completely isolated. So this is wooden block, and one stirrer is also inside this to just stir the materials. So this is the thermometer. This is stirrer, and this is copper part. In general, this is copper part. So simple. This is a simple structure of calorimeter, and the mechanism or the principle of this measuring of specific heat of solid or that thermal properties is heat loss by one part of that system. This is equivalent to heat gain by other parts. So जितना heat loss होता है उतना heat gain जो है वो counter part के साथ होता है. And we have taken that example of water, and when we just dip one ball of mass m1 or m2, whatever this is that ball, and our temperature, different temperature. So let's have the mass of ball, that is equal to m1, and the temperature, initial temperature, temperature of ball, this was taken as equal to theta1, and this is the higher temperature, this is heated ball, and mass of water, specific heat of ball, let's say that is equal to S1, and mass of water, that is M2, and the initial temperature of water, that is equivalent to theta2, and specific heat of water, let's say that is equal to S2, and we have this copper part also. So we have also mention that mass, specific heat, and the temperature. So the mass of copper part, it is equivalent to, let's say, M3. Specific heat of this copper part, that is S3, and the temperature will be same as water. So this is theta2, because this is one conductive part, and that water is in this part. So the temperature of that water as well as this copper part will be identical. So this is theta2. So when this ball is dipped in this water, and the temperature theta1, it is greater than theta2. So that is heated ball. So that when this ball is dipped in the water, so after some time, when this heat is transferred from ball to that water, one equilibrium temperature is attained, and that equilibrium temperature is so after some time the equilibrium temperature of the system becomes theta. When the ball is dipped in the water, so after some time, the equilibrium temperature becomes theta, and this theta is obviously, this will be less than theta 1 and this will be greater than theta 2. So the initial temperature of that ball is theta 1 and the final temperature that becomes theta, that is the equilibrium temperature, and initial temperature of that water as well as that copper part, that is theta 2, and that converts into that equilibrium temperature, that is theta. So here heat is given by ball and heat energy is taken by that water as well as that copper part. So total heat given by ball, that is equal to that is, let's say, Q1, it is equal to mass of ball is M1, specific heat is S1, and temperature, that is that will be the difference between high temperature to equilibrium temperature. So this is theta 1 minus theta. So change in temperature, it's changing from theta 1 to theta 2, and the total heat taken by or absorbed by water, it is Q2 is equal to mass of that water is M2 and specific heat is H2, and temperature, initial temperature is theta 2, which is less than theta, so here that will be theta minus theta 2, and the total heat absorbed by copper part, that is let's say theta 3, Q3. So Q3 is equivalent to M3 S3, and here this will be same, theta minus theta 2. So in equilibrium, total heat given by ball, this is equal to total heat absorbed by water plus copper part. And here we are taking that heat absorbed by stirrer is negligible because it's just a thin wire. So we are neglecting that temperature absorbed by this stirrer. So here this Q1, it is equal to Q2 plus Q3. Here Q1 is that heat energy given by ball, Q2 is heat energy absorbed by water, and Q3 is heat energy absorbed by that copper part. So let us put this M1 S1 theta 1 minus theta, this is equivalent to M2 H2 theta minus theta 2 plus M3 S3 theta minus theta. So if you want to calculate that the specific heat of this ball S1, then we will measure this M1 and the temperature difference, and this M2 H2 is H2, that is specific heat of water is given, theta minus theta 2, and M3 and S3, that is the specific heat of copper. This is the standard one in books, it is given. So we can calculate that specific heat of ball. Okay, so if any question is asked related to this calorimeter, then you should write the answer up to this point. How that heat is transferred from one body to another body, and that is specific heat of solid can be calculated, is calculated. Okay, so now next topic is change of states. Change of states. So we have three states of matter. First one is solid, second one is liquid, and third one is gas. So this is the normal known states. solid, liquid and gas. When we provide heat energy, the states from the material from one state changes to another one. So solid, after giving that that heat energy, it's converted into liquid, and when we further give that heat energy with a sufficient amount, then this is converted into gas, that is general, that is in vapor form. Okay, so if let's have one more thought experiment. If we have this container, that pot, and it is filled with ice cube. So this is the ice pieces, ice cube, and this is and one burner is here, and one temperature is here. The temperature measuring system, that is thermometer, is put inside. So initially, as we have a plot between the increase in temperature, we are providing heat energy. We are providing heat energy by this lamp, this burner, and we are measuring that temperature by this thermometer with time. So if we have a plot between temperature and time, so initial temperature, obviously that will be 0 because this is filled with ice cubes. So the temperature of ice is 0. So when we provide this heat energy, up to a certain instant of time, the temperature is constant, and that time is when that complete, up to that time when the complete ice is melt. So if a small piece of ice is remaining in this system, the temperature will never increase. Okay, so as a time, the temperature is still constant up to this state, and this is 0 because there is some small piece of that ice is there. If complete ice is melted, then we further provide that heat by that burner, then temperature starts increasing. Means now in this state, this is in the solid state, there is complete ice, and during that melting of this ice, that solid is now converting into liquid. When complete ice is melted, means in this state, that system is now in the liquid state, means now we have water, but the temperature is still 0 degrees centigrade of water. And then when we further start heating, providing that heat energy, the temperature will increase, and that temperature will increase up to 100 degrees centigrade if we are using this is 100 degrees centigrade if we are using that centigrade scale. So after reaching at this point, that 100 degrees centigrade, water will start boiling. Okay, now up to a certain time, that water will boil, and then again here, this is in the melted form, temperature is constant. Here also temperature 100 degrees centigrade, where that water start boiling, this is also constant. Okay, so at 0 degree centigrade, that ice is in solid form. When we are giving heat energy, it is now converting into liquid form, but the temperature of that liquid will be still 0 degrees centigrade if a small piece of ice is remaining in that system. And when the complete ice is melted up to this time, then temperature starts increasing, and then this temperature increases up to this point, that is the 100 degrees centigrade, which is the boiling point of this water. And now water starts boiling, and this will be again constant. The temperature will be again constant up to a certain instant, when that water is converted into vapor. So here this is liquid, this is in the liquid form, here this is in the solid form, and here in this, up to this point, this will be now in the vapor form. Okay, so this is the change in state from especially for the water. That water is in the solid state, then it converts into liquid, and then it converts into vapor. Okay, now we will define some terms related to that melting and that boiling as well as that evaporation point. And first one is melting point. Melting point. This melting point is actually related with temperature. So this is the temperature that at the bottom of that graph. So this is the temperature in which the solid and liquid state of matter coexist at thermal equilibrium. So in that plot, I should keep that plot here. So this is the temperature and this is time. So here that is 0 degree centigrade, and then this point up to this solid as well as the liquid. Solid is converted into liquid. So in equilibrium condition, in thermal equilibrium, this is the point where this solid and liquid, solid and liquid states of the matter, these are the coexist together. This temperature is known as the melting point. So this is the temperature in which the solid and the liquid states of the matter coexist at the thermal equilibrium. Second, the boiling point can be also defined in the similar manner. So this is the temperature. This is the temperature in which what will be here? So here this solid and liquid that start increasing, and this point. So this is the now liquid, and this evaporation start. So that this is the temperature in which the liquid and vapor, that is the gaseous state of matter coexist at thermal equilibrium. So the melting point is that temperature where that solid and liquid coexist at thermal equilibrium. When that term thermal equilibrium should be mentioned clearly. And the second part, that is the that boiling point. This boiling point is that temperature. For example, for water, this is 100 degree centigrade. In 100 degree centigrade is the boiling point, and this melting point, that is 0 degree centigrade. So that is the temperature where these two states, here this gas, liquid and gases, and here that liquid and solid. So here the liquid and solids coexisting at thermal equilibrium. That's the melting point, and the boiling point is this temperature where this liquid and gaseous states coexist together. Okay, so these are the 2 points, and it depends on material to material. Alag material के लिए अलग होगा. You can give the example of water. So here this in case of water, this is 0 degree centigrade. In this case of water, this is 100 degree centigrade. And one more thermal term here it is defined as, because what we are observing here, we are just providing that heat energy, and still that materials in the liquid form, in the equilibrium state, and the temperature is constant. One thing is, in this case here the temperature is constant, here also the temperature is constant, there is no change in the temperature, but we are providing heat energy. So that heat energy is being used to convert that state from one state to another state. And one term is used here, that is known as latent heat. Okay, so that latent heat, that is actually the hidden energy providing. So one term is used here, that is latent heat. So this is the heat energy given to the system to change from one state to another state at constant temperature. Means there is no change in the temperature. So here we are providing energy, but there is no change in the temperature, and that state is changing from solid state to liquid state. And also here we are providing energy, but there is no change in the temperature, but the state is changing from liquid to gaseous state. So mathematically it is written as equivalent to this is the heat energy Q multiplied by M multiplied by L. This is the formula where, so that heat energy given per unit mass, I should write here, heat energy given per unit mass, because mass term is here. So L it is equivalent to here, where L is known as latent heat. So L can be written as equivalent to Q by M. So that heat energy providing per unit mass at constant temperature to change in its state from one state to another state. Okay, so you can write also it's a unit of latent heat, that is equivalent to, this is joule and this is mass, so joule per kg heat energy, that is in joule, and the kilogram mass, and that dimension of latent heat, this is energy, so this is mL2 T to the power minus 2 by M, so this is equal to L square T minus 2. So the dimension, the energy upon mass. So depending on states, this latent heat is divided into two parts. One is, first is latent heat of fusion. So this is the energy given per unit mass at constant temperature to change the state of matter from solid to liquid. And second, latent heat of, it is represented by LF. So latent heat of vaporization. So here in this case, here we will use LF, latent heat of fusion, where that ice is melted in water. And the latent heat of vaporization, it is represented by LV or LP sometimes. So this is the heat energy given per unit mass to change the state of matter from liquid to vapor by keeping temperature constant. You can also write this latent heat of melting. If you are just forgetting about that term fusion, then this one can write this latent heat of melting. So this is latent heat of vaporization. Okay, so the reverse order is also true. We can convert that solid to liquid. The liquid can be converted into solid. Here also, that we can vaporize that system, liquid to in the vapor, and by just keeping out that thermal energy, that vapor can be converted into water. So now let us the effect of pressure, because we have three physical parameters used in this unit, that is the temperature, pressure and volume. So let us see the effect of pressure in melting point. So the effect of temperature in melting point, this depends on that material. In general, if we increase that temperature, we give that heat energy, and that system if contracted. So one can have it depends on material or matter. If first, if it expanded with temperature, with heat energy or with temperature, then melting point increases, just like wax, plastics. When we heat that plastic and wax, then it's expanded. Then by increasing that pressure, it's a melting point that will increase. Second, just an example, easy, wax or plastic. If it's contracted with heat energy, that the melting point decreases with pressure. So when we increase the pressure, its melting point decreases, just like easy that ice. The best example is ice. So a good example of this second one is, if we have one ice cube, placed in this type of stand, and we just hang the load by using that two sides of string. So this is that load that will be the second side. This is the second load. So this is that ice cube, ice block kept in the table, and this is the this is the empty space, and we just put one. We hang that weight, heavy weights, that about 5 kg, 10 kg of each joined with that string, and when we just release this free, then this will increase the pressure in this side, and start melting, and after some instant of time, this particular string, that particular wire, this will cross from this size. जैसे एक बर्फ के इसमें दोनों साइड से आप स्ट्रिंग लगा करके अगर कोई हैवी वेट अगर लटका दिए, है ना, तो उस केस में क्या होता है कि वो उसको जैसे प्रेशर उस पर डालेगा, आइस के ऊपर जैसे प्रेशर उसने डाला, मेल्टिंग पॉइंट कम हो गया. हाँ, सो मेल्टिंग पॉइंट कम होने से वो मेल्ट होना स्टार्ट हो गया, और मेल्ट होकर के वो धीरे धीरे उसमें इंसर्ट कर जाता है, और जैसे वो प्रेशर वहाँ से हटता है, वापस वो फ्यूज हो जाता है, वापस वो जम जाता है ना. सो प्रेशर यहाँ पे अप्लाई करने से, यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ है, व्हेन मेल्टिंग पॉइंट डिक्रीजेस विद प्रेशर, प्रेशर इंक्रीज करने से मेल्टिंग पॉइंट डिक्रीज हो जाता है, वो मेल्ट हो गया, मेल्ट होकर के ये इसको धीरे से इसको क्रॉस करके ये नीचे गिर जाता है. सो दिस इज द गुड एग्जांपल ऑफ द इफेक्ट ऑफ दैट pressure in the melting point. And also we can have this effect of pressure in the boiling point. So the boiling point increases with increasing pressure. The boiling point increases with increasing pressure. Okay, so this is the pressure cooker. Pressure cooker. This principle is used. Initially, if there is no pressure, water boils at 100 degrees centigrade. When we use that pressure cooker, then initially the temperature increases inside that pressure cooker. Vapor is generated and pressure increases. So जैसे pressure increase होता है, boiling point increases. So that water which starts boiling at 100 degree in the normal pressure, that starts boiling at about 125, 128 degree centigrade. ज़्यादा मतलब इसमें टाइम टेम्परेचर पे वो बॉयल हो रहा है, तो वो इजीली फिर चावल पकता है उसमें. Okay, even one example can be given at height. There is change in atmospheric pressure. तो वहाँ पे खाना बनाना जो है थोड़ा सा मुश्किल हो जाता है. तो वाटर बॉयल ही नहीं होता है, प्रेशर ऑटोमेटिकली जाएगी हाइट पे. वाटर बॉयल नहीं होगा तो चावल कैसे बनेगा? Okay, so this is the effect of pressure in boiling point. So as pressure increases, boiling point increases. There is some third experiment also, and water you can go through that. I think in your NCERT book it is given. Okay, so I think it's late for me.